Hey guys, welcome to another episode of She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessinho. So today we're going to be reviewing the Europa League match that we had yesterday against Benfica, which was a 1-1 draw. And I have the pleasure of talking to DJ Harry today and my good friend Albert. So let's just go ahead and jump in. What up, guys?
Hey.
How are we this afternoon, morning? Morning for me, afternoon for you. How's it going?
Harry, you kick off, mate.
Yeah, it's going good. It's going okay. Had a chance to watch the highlights again, which is always good the day after. Feel like you can review it a little bit more calmer. But no, it's been a good day.
What about you, Albert?
I did the opposite of Harry. I didn't watch the highlights again after watching that. But yeah, I'm doing all right. Doing all right. I'm glad to get the call out to come on your channel again. It's always good to be on a platform with you.
Yeah. If you guys are in the chat, just say hello. You know, we're going to get started in just a couple of seconds. Tanner's not going to be here. He had something came up, so, you know, he won't be here, but I still have a great panel for today. I just want to put this up here really quick. I wonder if you guys hear that? I hate this anthem so much.
You know what? I didn't even recognise what it was until you said what it was. It says it all about Europa League.
It's so cheap sounding. Every single time I hear it, I'm like, we've really fallen down.
They should just make it the Champions League anthem, but just maybe make it slower or like a different version of the same song.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, you guys, so I'll start with you, Harry. How did you, so seeing the lineup and seeing that it was like, sorry, you guys, I'm like dying over here. I'm like so hot. The heater is like on 1,000. So seeing the lineup, and it was exactly the same as the lineup from the game before against Leeds. Were you happy about that? Were you disappointed? Did you think we should have rotated a little bit more? What do you think?
I felt like we should have rotated a bit more, but I'm not thinking that anyone really deserved a chance to play ahead of anyone that started.
Really?
I think you can make a shout for Pepe, but apart from that, I don't think anyone's really deserving of some minutes. But I would have rotated more, just simply to give those guys some minutes, to give them some confidence to play, and hopefully just make them more useful in the Premier League. But I appreciate that it's a bit risky to do that. And in hindsight, you could say that we did look a little bit tired in the second half, and if it was a gamble to go full strength, then you'd say it hasn't paid off, because now we have to go full strength again in the second leg. Whereas the likes of Man United and Spurs, they didn't go full strength, and they can probably not go full strength again in their second leg. So you can't complain about the lineup, but it just makes it a little bit harder to swallow that we didn't win the game comfortably when you play your strong team.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, I thought we were going to rotate so much more. I was thinking, because Pepe, he was having such a good run. So I was thinking, okay, he's probably resting him for the Benfica game, resting Holding and resting Lacazette. And to see none of them in the lineup was like, okay, so they were dropped, but Mikel Arteta does this often, where if a team plays well, he'll play them again the next game, I don't know if that's to solidify this is my best team, or I don't know what it is, but he didn't rotate. And really, I thought the risk didn't really work out. What did you think, Albert? How did you feel about the lineup? Were you upset, or did you think it was okay?
I was quite surprised, actually, to be honest, the same team lineup. A lot of people was like, momentum and, can't change a winning team. I said, well, yes, you can. It's just the manager's job, he's allowed to do that. So, yeah, I expected to see, I actually said after the Leeds game, I think Pepe would be desperately unlucky not to start against Benfica, and he didn't. I thought Rob Holding would come in, kept Luiz in, and I thought actually Lacazette would come in. People saying, are you mad? Aubameyang got a hat-trick. I said, well, I understand that, and but it's a good headache to have. That's what I would say. As for the game itself, I'll be honest, the first half, I thought it was terrible, but I don't think either team played well, to be honest with you. Arsenal, the transition of play, which we've complained about as Gooners for time, this season hasn't been great, to be honest, when we start games. But yeah, I thought the first sort of 15, 20 minutes especially was very, very lethargic from Arsenal. And it's strange because although I don't think we played well, but we played a little bit better than Benfica in the first half, we had two gilt-edged chances to go 2 goals clear going into the second half. The Aubameyang missed the first miss. I didn't really understand what he was trying to do, because when it came across him, I instinctively thought when looking at it that he's going to go right-footed. And he sort of opened out his body to go left-footed, and he missed the target completely. And as for the Odegaard sort of situation, people were saying that he should have had a shot at goal, which I sort of take on board. But I don't think Ceballos is even ready for when he got the pass. That was the thing that kind of surprised me. But yeah, a lackluster first half, one to forget about for me personally. But we should have gone at least 2 goals clear.
For sure. I completely agree with that. I think that we're having a completely different conversation if Aubameyang finishes those chances. You know, then the risk makes sense. You know, it's not that big of a deal. But because he missed those chances, I think that we're looking at this game so differently. And I thought Benfica was terrible. I mean, I thought we were bad, but I thought Benfica was there for the taking. They were not good, you know, but for me, like looking to the next leg, I'm like, okay, yeah, even though Benfica wasn't good, no, teams don't have to be good against us to get points or go through or anything like that. That's never really what it is. It's never about the other team being better. Most of the times we do play better. You know, it's just we don't finish our chances. And I don't know if you guys felt this way too, but I sensed a little bit of nervousness from the team, especially in the beginning, a little bit of like, oh my gosh. And maybe last year's Europa League, you know, round of 32, that game against Olympiacos is playing back in their minds, you know, because for me, that's all I could think about was don't do that again. Don't do that again. You know, you could sense the nervousness there. So I'm not really sure, you know, if we don't feel like we're confident or what, but I don't feel comfortable with this 1-1, even though we got the away goal. To me, it's like, yeah, but they could come, you know, on the next leg and score 2 goals, you know, like it's not out of the realm of possibility, you know. So
yeah, there's definitely a nervous energy in our play. And I think that comes from previous wounds. So whether it's Olympiacos last year or that 6-7 game spell this season when we just couldn't seem to generate, you know, any decent moments. So that definitely hinders our performances. And the later it goes on in that second tie, if it's 0-0 with 60 minutes gone, that is going to be squeaky bum time, because it's going to be really, really uncomfortable, because Benfica will just grow in confidence. And like you said, they offered nothing, but we still managed to give them a chance, just simply down to errors. Whether it's Wolves away when we dominate the first half and we give away a penalty, or it's Emil Smith-Rowe dangling a hand and giving away a penalty. And that's the fear that the team are fully aware of, which is why they play with a nervous energy, because they know if they don't take that first or second chance, the game suddenly becomes so much harder for them.
100%. I completely agree with that. You know, so I just want to kind of pivot a little bit into individual performances. I don't think there were a lot of good ones. Like, you know, against Leeds, we could have picked out 4, 5, 6 players that played well. But in this game, I don't even think Saka really played good except for the goal. And I think that was more down to maybe he was tired than anything else. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Odegaard. And the fact that I really do think he grew into that role a little bit. And he had a pretty decent game. He had some good passes. He was involved. What did you think about his performance, Albert? Were you impressed by him, or are we overplaying it a little bit? Because a lot of people felt like he was man of the match.
I'm gonna sort of answer your question in reverse order. So the overplaying it bit. Why I would say to Arsenal fans who are watching this and, you know, Twitter world and social media world, just calm down a bit, because I rewind back to Ceballos home game of the Emirates against Burnley. Sign him up, get the songs out, 60 million, put it on the table, just relax, right? You know, but in regards to Odegaard's touch of class in a lot of instances in the game, and what I noticed as well with him, and this is it was infuriating me a little bit. Not nothing against Odegaard, is that he was finding the pockets of space where you're supposed to be, but he's not getting the ball. But when he did get the ball, he made things happen, like slide rule passing. Aubameyang's probably been having sleepless nights, right? Guys, you will know, with Twitter world, social media world, right? The strikers don't get no service. They're not getting chances. We're creating chances. Unfortunately, Aubameyang had one of them days where he was not finishing his dinner. I don't know what happened, but yeah, some of his passing was excellent. And was always prepared to take the risk. And that's what you want your number 10s or your attacking players in the final third to do. What's the worst that's going to happen? What, you're going to give away the ball? I mean, at least you're trying to do something different. So, yeah, definitely man of the match. But, in terms of talking about permanent signing, let's just hold back a little bit. Let's get this guy a bit more game time before we start getting carried away.
I agree. What do you think, Harry? What did you think about Odegaard's performance? Did you think that he was the man of the match or maybe somebody else?
I mean, it's hard to give anyone man of the match, isn't it, when it's a 1-1 draw with a bit of an underwhelming performance. I liked his game in moments. I thought he showed a lot of composure on the ball. I like how he plays quite deep at times, or he receives the ball deep, so he becomes almost an extra central midfielder rather than a luxury number 10. For what you lose in Emil Smith-Rowe kind of tenacity in the middle, you gain in this composure in Odegaard. So I like what he did. I think he played some great passes, like you guys just mentioned. We didn't find him enough, but it's certainly something to be excited about, and hopefully he just continues to grow. We have to remember that playing Benfica yesterday was a strange game because they didn't come out of their shape. They were happy to let us have the ball. So in that respect, it's a little bit easier for a player to make their impact on the game. The next question is, when we play Man City at home and you've got Foden and Silva and Rodri and maybe De Bruyne popping up and interchanging, can you still impact your game, at the Emirates? That's when we'll really see his true quality. But we can certainly be excited about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that, I think what I would like to see, and we could talk about this a little bit later, but in terms of the Man City game, I think that that's kind of like, just go for it and see what happens, because we're not expected to win that game, but I would like to see Odegaard start in the 10 role in that game. I criticized Arteta a little bit about not resting Emil Smith-Rowe. I think he was dead on his feet, and I think he's been tired for a couple of games now. And I can't help but think that if Emil Smith-Rowe is fresh, he's not making that mistake in the corner with Cedric that led up to the penalty, because that was self-inflicted right there. It was an individual error. Both of them messing around in that corner, not, clearing their lines, and then they get a corner, and then here's the penalty. It's just little things like that. I think Emil Smith-Rowe needs a rest, and I would like to see Odegaard just start in the 10 role. Just let Emil Smith-Rowe sit out and let him come back in for the next Benfica game. What do you think, Albert? Do you think that Odegaard should start against Man City and maybe Emil Smith-Rowe should sit this one out? Maybe Pepe come in? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm surprised Arteta hasn't. No, I don't like using the phrase pulled out the firing line, but I think other than one game, he's more or less ESR started, 6-7 games in a row? And not just that, I think what people realised as well is with Emil Smith-Rowe, as much as we want him to be the creative spark, and yes, with him and Odegaard in the team, he kind of operates on the left of the three, but he does a lot of amazing work off the ball, which should not go unnoticed. So you're playing them amount of games in a row. Young guy. People say, "Oh, yeah, but he's young." But irrespective of your age, you can get tired. Like that's not impossible. Like So I'm surprised he hasn't taken him out of a couple of the games. I was surprised he started against Leeds, if I'm being honest with you. That's why I had Odegaard in. But I don't think he'll play against Man City personally. Emil Smith-Rowe.
He shouldn't.
I'd be very surprised if he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he'll start just personally.
Yeah, I think, this is where I get frustrated with Arteta. I know that he's a good coach, and I don't know if he's trying to play Smith-Rowe into some, to improve his, his stamina, just keep playing him until he gains form or, something. But you need to sit him down. He looks freaking tired. Like, just sit him down. He doesn't look like himself, and I don't think that this is helping him at all. I don't know. And I don't understand the Pepe thing. I can't lie. I'm upset about it. I'm not gonna lie. I think Pepe should have started in this game. And I just don't understand why we're playing a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old into the ground when we have a 25-year-old who we spent 72 million on that was in good form, could have easily played that game. I don't get it. You know, Harry, do you question Arteta's management and his substitutions, his squad management? I just think that this game just confused me so much because I really don't understand why some people were in and other people weren't. I don't get it.
Yeah, I do and I don't. I think him starting our strongest 11 in his eyes just shows how important the game was and shows that his eggs are firmly in this basket. I think the idea was to win this tie comfortably, maybe take off those players, and then they could still start against City, and then we can rotate more against Benfica. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I agree with Pepe. Though against Aston Villa, was he great? Did he do a lot? Did he do enough? We had so much of the ball. Did he do enough? And this is what we have to ask ourselves. When you have a player like Pepe, Pepe is ultimately a goal-scoring winger. So he's a left forward or a right forward. Whereas Emil Smith-Rowe is essentially a central midfielder, number 10 who can play left midfield. So if you play Emil Smith-Rowe on the left, you're not going to get a player that's going to constantly take on the fullback and constantly whipping crosses, but you're going to get someone who's going to pick up the ball. So when Cedric is looking for a pass inside, Emil Smith-Rowe is going to be there. He's going to turn and he's going to help generate possession play, similar to a Bernardo Silva who plays on the right side for City. Whereas with Pepe, sometimes maybe it's a little bit one-dimensional. And if Pepe doesn't score or doesn't assist, does he contribute enough to a game consistently? And you could argue that he hasn't been given the chance to, but Arteta is probably, not convinced by him. And I think that's clear because the reason why Saka plays every week, right mid in Pepe's preferred position, is because Arteta rates Saka. So it's frustrating with Pepe. It really is. But I haven't seen enough from Pepe to say he deserves to start every game. I've definitely seen a change in attitude recently over the past 3 or 4 games where he looks to have more desire. There's less of these smiles when things goes wrong. There seems to be more determination to make it right. But that doesn't mean that should always be rewarded with a start. Sometimes you just have to bide your time. But ironically, yesterday, like you said, for me, Emil Smith-Rowe should have been taken out the firing line, as should have Saka, in my opinion, or at least one of them. I don't want one of these kids to get injured. We've seen it before, and we've got to be really careful about overplaying these kids every week. But it shows you the pressures Arteta is on, that he feels like he can't change it too much. That's
really true. Like, if he feels like he needed to play that particular lineup in that game, then that really does show where he is, And I felt like the front line, the front four, it lacked balance. And I said this, on Twitter, and I know people didn't like it, but I'm like, that front four is not going to work against every single team. Leeds was wide open. They were wide open. So I think it was easier for us to, connect and bring people into play. But against Benfica, I thought we needed another goal scorer. I think we needed another threat. We had essentially like 5 midfielders. We had Danny, we had Odegaard, Emil Smith-Rowe, Saka. It was a lot of midfielding and not a lot of shooting, not a lot of scoring. And then when Aubameyang misses the chances, we just don't have anybody else that's just going to say, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to shoot it. There was a lot of unnecessary passing that was going on that I just felt like this is not what we need for this particular game. But
Jess, I was going to say, sorry, like with the substitutions, the first 3, not the Elneny one and the William one, I didn't have a problem with them, but for me they should have come on sooner. I wanted them to be a bit more proactive in terms of the subs, because bring on Pepe 10 minutes earlier, bring on Martinelli 10 minutes earlier I
thought you could have brought on Pepe at halftime. That's how dead we were in that first half.
And as for people mentioned like the tiredness, like you guys probably, I don't want to speak for you, but when I talk about the youngsters and tiredness, right? I'm not saying they have to fall out of bed and not be able to get up. That's not the kind of time I'm talking about. Arteta using his nous and games management, when to know to start these guys or when to take them off. That's a big difference. And he's not. And to me, with ESR, he hasn't shown that.
Yeah, I agree. But just one thing quickly, when we rotated against Southampton in the FA Cup and it didn't work out well for us, obviously, the knives were out for Arteta. So he's in a position where he goes with a strong team. It doesn't work out. But at least we can't fault too much, right? We can just say, maybe one or two substitutions could have been earlier. But he's played a really strong team, minus perhaps Pepe for Emil Smith Rowe, and it just hasn't worked out. But like you said, Jess, yesterday was definitely a case of overplaying when we didn't need to and underplaying when we shouldn't have. You know, there was too many passes in and around the box where it should have been more direct.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk a little bit about Aubameyang because there's, some questions in the chat about him, about maybe dropping him for the next game. And, my biggest thing with Aubameyang is that, in the game against Leeds, what I really liked about him was his body language. I thought that he looked, invested in what we were doing. He looked like he had a point to prove. He was pressing. You could tell Aubameyang he's one of those obvious players where you can tell when he's not happy and you can tell when he is. And yesterday he just, besides the missed goals, which I feel like may have come from maybe him not being so into the game, he wasn't on. He just wasn't. Why can't we get Aubameyang to play multiple games in a row with that same energy? And I know it's harsh, because okay, well, I know strikers are going to miss chances, but he's also the captain of this club. So when I see him acting the way that he's acting on the pitch, looking disinterested, which is how I viewed it, it pisses me off. It just does. Like, how are you going to play against Leeds the way you played and then play like this against Benfica? Do you think that, am I imagining something or what? Or was Aubameyang was he crap? Like, I thought he was, besides just missing the goals, I thought he was useless out there. I don't know.
Do you think he was disinterested yesterday? Is that the vibe that you got from him?
I got disinterested. I think I should be rested. That's what I got. He did not look the same. And I look at Aubameyang, as soon as he comes out of the tunnel, the first thing I do is I look at his face. Aubameyang has a certain face, like he had it against when we played Man City in the FA Cup and Chelsea, a specific body language that you can tell when Aubameyang is like, we're winning this. We're going out here. We're fired up. He didn't have that yesterday, and he was not pressing. He was just out of it. And with the exact same three behind him. What could that be? Like, I don't know.
I think if he scores the first chance, then it maybe all changes. I think once he misses that first chance, he can probably even hear all the headlines in his head about him going off form again. The second chance from the Ødegaard pass when he dragged it wide, for me, that's got to go on target. And then the third chance was just a pure example of my confidence has gone. I'm running through on goal. I'm on my left foot, just bang it, and he tries to Cruyff turn inside, and then the defender manages to get a tackle on him. So I didn't pick up on the body language, to be honest. I just thought he just wasn't his clinical self, and then ultimately that hindered his overall performance. But I didn't think he looked disinterested. One thing I will say about Aubameyang is, and I remember when I used to watch Henry, and I'm not criticising Henry, but there were some times when a defender who was fast would come across and try to block the pass or try to block his run. And then Henry would sometimes just ease up in fear of maybe getting shoulder barged or getting embarrassed. And I see Aubameyang do that a few times where there's a defender comes across him, and rather than go toe-to-toe in the sprint or get his body in, he kind of just eases off because he's fearful of almost being embarrassed or rejected. And that's one thing I'd like him to do, is just be a little bit more aggressive, back into defenders a little bit more. I know it's not his game, but just learn that if you put a shoulder in someone after they've cleared the ball or try to press a little bit more aggressively, it will be contagious for the rest of the team, and everyone will start to follow up. And I think we looked a little bit flat in that respect last night.
Yeah. Because there were several times where, he just totally flopped. It just crumbled to the ground. Did you see that a couple times where he just kind of like bumped into the defender and just crumbled to the ground? I'm like, come on, Abba, like you got to do better than that. But this is a good comment by Alcarp, is, maybe he just has a lot on his mind with his mom still being sick, and maybe that's affecting him. I'm not trying to be overly harsh. With me and Aubameyang, it's like I have a love-hate relationship with him. Hold on, there's somebody calling me.
It's Aubameyang on the phone. He's got a bone to pick.
He's calling me now.
William's coming to have a go, Jess.
Yeah.
But I just think that have a love-hate relationship with Aubameyang because I know what kind of player he is. I know he's a really good, he's clinical. But as the captain of the team, I'm a little bit more critical of him just because I expect more from a captain that I'm not getting. But I understand that he leads by example and all that kind of stuff. So I may just be being harsh. I could be that. I could be that. Aubameyang, he didn't answer.
You scared him off.
Let's see. Let's check out some of these comments. Unfair to judge body language. Messi, Bergkamp, Berbatov, Ozil look disinterested. It's true.
I don't know about Dennis, but yeah, the others I don't know about Dennis. Yeah,
I think with Aubameyang as well, because now you start to, obviously, when someone signs a contract and they get to 30, 31, you want to ignore those factors, but it's hard to now ignore those factors. Is it the new contract? Is it the age? Is it just a coincidence? And then when you see these performances, which are a little bit inconsistent, then you start to think, oh no, is this happening again? Is this going to happen? Is this what it's going to be like? Because prior to this, we've had a consistent 20 goal scorer a year player, which we haven't had in a while. Yes. And now suddenly we're being inconsistent. And unfortunately, when Aubameyang doesn't take our chances, we don't have one player who can offer that individual moment of brilliance. We really don't. Saka sometimes does it, but we don't have a Bruno Fernandes who can get Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial and Cavani out of the mess if they've missed chances. Unfortunately, we don't have that. So we need Aubameyang to really, really just find his goal scoring boots every single game. He has to do it every single game.
This is true. So the Assembled says, Jess, he does enough to collect his wages. He doesn't want to be at Arsenal. I know that as a fact because of circumstances is why he's at Arsenal. Yeah, I mean,
is that related to what when he could have left if it wasn't for COVID?
Yeah. And I do feel kind of like that. I mean, he threatened to leave all of last season. He clearly was 1 foot out the door the entire season. And because of maybe the circumstances of the pandemic, he wasn't able to get the type of move that he wanted, but he is here. So if he's here, I need him to play, Abba wants to be a legend. His performance is far from a legendary. After first miss, he had 2 chances to redeem himself. Yeah, I don't really want to hear about Aubameyang in this legend talk right now. I think he has a long way to go to be considered any sort of legend. I know that he said that when he signed the contract, but I don't even want to hear anything about that right now, to be honest.
Big word, legend, man. Big word.
Exactly. I don't know. Grand Central Station over here. Abba is a super player. I mean, he's very loved by the fan base. He's not my favorite, but I understand why people love him because he's been so consistent. Yeah, Xhaka. Yeah. So did you guys think that he kind of reverted back to type yesterday and was passing a little bit, backwards a little bit too much? I don't know. I watched some of the highlights back and I saw the clips of him passing backwards. And I kind of felt like maybe he did revert back to type. Do you guys agree with that, or are we being harsh again?
He was part of that, but like I said, the first half I thought was terrible. I'm not that may sound a bit harsh, but it was. I did a watch along for that game on someone else's channel. I was like, you know what? I've seen this story a lot of the time in Europa League this season, and actually probably even in the league domestically as well. But it wasn't just Xhaka. Xhaka is Xhaka, man. And you touched on something earlier just about sort of Aubameyang and the legendary status. I think this is sort of the problem you see with sections of the fan base in terms of you've got the ones that absolutely idolise some of the players that are here, and then you've got the ones that actually just care about the fortunes of the club, and that's where the clash is. But that's another subject for another day. But yeah, Xhaka, man. Listen, it's a story we've seen before with his performances. I don't get too carried away when he plays well. I don't get too disappointed when he doesn't play well. It is what it is with him. In the first half, the passing was just it's just so poor. It's just very sideways, and the second half was a bit better, to be fair. Even before they got the penalty, we started a bit more on a better tempo. But then obviously they got the goal. We equalised pretty quickly, which helped. But it was a bit better in the second half, I must admit. But with Arsenal many times this season, Jess and Harry, man, possession-wise stats, we got the ball a lot, 60, 70%. but the games we win games where we don't have a lot of possession. So maybe there's something in that.
Yeah, I think we made 660 passes last night, and they made 460 or something. So we clearly had the ball. For what it's worth, I think the myth of Xhaka passing backwards is just that. It's just a myth. If you get your ball with your back to play, sometimes it's easier just to play it backwards and then turn and then get it and then play it forward. I believe he's second in the Premier League for the most forward passes into the final third behind Rodri. I don't think Xhaka is a reason why we didn't play well yesterday. He didn't play well, but I don't think anyone had an amazing game. It was definitely an off game from Xhaka, but
he's such an easy target, though. You know, he is the target. I think when we don't play well, it was Xhaka and Bellerin.
And that's why we have to be really careful how we analyze players, because ultimately, when you see these things on Twitter, I saw a screenshot of a Bellerin run that he didn't play the ball to Ødegaard, and then it generates a thread of just abuse. And it's like, I mean, you can screenshot a lot of things in a game and come up with a narrative of why this player is bad. So I don't think Xhaka was great yesterday. I don't think he was terrible.
My thing with Xhaka is we just know what he is, and I think ultimately for him is if he doesn't see the pass and he doesn't take risks unnecessarily. He likes to keep possession. And I think that's coached by Arteta as well. I think a lot of times we don't take into consideration that if he wasn't doing what Arteta was asking him to do, he wouldn't be playing. This is what Arteta is telling the team to do. He's telling Bellerin to play more in the offense and play in the midfield. So that's why he's doing it. And he's telling Xhaka to keep possession and pass backwards and circulate the ball. So it's not like, they're just out there just doing whatever. And, they're just whatever. Like they're literally being coached to do these things. So just,
it's like they talk about risk adverse. It's true, man. It filters down from the coach to the players, man. It's true. Like it's not rocket science.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, his passing wasn't great yesterday, so he can certainly be criticised on that. It wasn't as clinical as it should be. But I think he's played like 8 games in a row, 90 minutes every game. He's been one of our better players, so I'm gonna give him a free pass. I know that's almost impossible for Arsenal fans to do with Xhaka, but listen, man, I've got to be honest. I'm a big fan of Xhaka. I really like him. I think there's a reason why every single manager we have starts him. Is he a reason why maybe we're not where we are? Possibly so, but there's many central midfielders in the Premier League who have performed for top 4 teams who aren't as good as Granit Xhaka. But if you have players around them that do the right job, it works. And that's what it's about. It's about building world-class players around very good players. It's really hard to have a team of outrageously good players. Not many teams manage to do it. Only Liverpool and City have done that. The rest have been, good one year, then average the next year. So long may Granit Xhaka stay at Arsenal.
That's the problem, though, with Xhaka, though. I think ultimately we haven't put him in a situation to be successful at Arsenal, and we never do this. It's like he's been at the club for like 5 years or something like that. And if you've ever seen him play for Switzerland, he plays next to a mobile box-to-box player. And all of a sudden he starts to look good for Arsenal when he is next to a mobile box-to-box player in Thomas Partey. Why did we do that before? Why did we spend 35 million on Granit Xhaka, which is a lot of money? It may not, it's not Pepe levels, but the 35 million is an investment in a player. And it's a large investment in a player not to put him in a situation to thrive. And I think that's what irritates me. He's not a bad player. Like, Xhaka is not my favorite. And of course, you guys know him banging that Basuma drum. Me, I want Basuma in the summer. But for Xhaka, if he's playing with a mobile box-to-box player, he's more than usable. He plays well in scenarios where he has somebody else to play off of. So, I think we're just beating him down because we want to. There's certain players that just get a lot more, stick than others. But yeah, he wasn't great, but nobody was. Nobody was yesterday. Let's see. Both Xhaka and Ceballos were better off the ball than on it. Neither were responsible for Arsenal not winning yesterday. Yeah, and we'll get to Ceballos in a second, who was my man of the match. Ceballos I thought he was vintage Ceballos yesterday. I don't know. I liked him yesterday. Some people didn't, though. Xhaka gave the ball away 16 times last night. We can't be having that. Xhaka is clearly Albert's favorite player.
Let me tell you something. Let me answer that. I love Russ. Listen, You've been on Twitter. There's a lot more people very critical of this guy than me. I'm very polite when it comes to him. Believe me.
Xhaka is consistent, but when the whole team is struggling, he stands out. That is true. Sometimes when we play bad, Xhaka plays bad too.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a squad player, definitely not a first team pick. Another area we need to improve. Yeah, I do think we all know we need reinforcements in the center midfield area. You know,
see with Xhaka. Sorry, I'm not saying he's a terrible player, but let me say this. Maybe this league is just not for him. He would thrive in Serie A. He would thrive in probably La Liga, but I just think the tempo of this league, he gets found out. When we bought him, I know people talk about he's a captain of Switzerland, but to me, that's got nothing to do with it. I look at how he performed in an Arsenal shirt, and the length of time that he's been here, we bought a player. We knew he wasn't mobile. We knew he was ill-disciplined. We know he can't tackle. So why are you surprised with what he's given us so far the time he's been here?
Hey, he made a good tackle yesterday in the box, I remember. I thought he was going to give away a penalty, but then he ended up winning the ball. It was a good tackle.
Every time he goes down in the box, I'm like, no.
Yeah. I agree with what Albert's saying. Sorry, I agree with what you're saying. Totally agree. But then I just think it's a bit like getting mad at Giroud for not taking on four defenders and scoring a screamer, or a bit mad at Giroud for not running in behind when you know that's not his game. I agree he's not the most mobile, but I don't think that ever leaves him. This season, I don't think that's cost him. I think this season he's been pretty consistent. We just haven't seen him next to Partey enough. When he first came, I think Santi was having a really good season. Then Santi got injured, and then we could never find a replacement. And it's hard because we look back on Vieira's and even players like Jack Wilshere and Ramsey, who gave us so much energy and movement in the middle. And Granit Xhaka is a player that we've never really had before. You know, a ball play and deep line central midfield who's quite slow. So it's hard for our eyes to appreciate something totally different. So I feel like the easiest thing to do is just to give Granit Xhaka a 6-year deal and just say, right, he's staying forever. Just enjoy it.
He's got big enough contracts as it is. Don't be saying that, mate.
I do think that Granit Xhaka is somebody that the Arsenal fan base is going to have to get used to seeing, because I don't think we ever take into consideration that Arteta may rate him. And I think he does. I think that's clear. And if Arteta's here and he has a say in transfers, he's not going to be getting rid of Granit Xhaka anytime soon, or maybe even Hector Bellerin. He likes him as well, you know. Cool. So we maybe get over it, you know. Like, I don't know, you know. But I want to talk about Saka's goal for a second, because you know we got to talk about Saka and then Ceballos and then the Man City. Let's do a quick preview for that. So with Saka, I don't think he had the best game, but that's the thing. Like, when you're a quality player, you can have a crap game and still be significant. I mean, I think he's just showing his quality over and over and over again. And like I said, I thought he had a quiet game. I think he might be a little bit tired. But Albert, what did you think of Saka's performance yesterday? And, you know, how great he is? Just what is it? Wax lyrical on how great he is.
Well, I mean, people are going to sound biased because obviously, you know, Nigerian heritage and all that, but he's just brilliant anyway. Like, you've already said it. I'm going to repeat what you said. Even when this guy doesn't play well, even when he doesn't affect the game for 45 minutes, 20 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever, there's always a moment this guy comes good. And what he's doing, what he didn't do probably towards the back end of last season, coming into this season, he's adding goals. He's adding goals to his game. He assists. He's got a footballing brain, IQ, whatever you want to call it. That's why he should be the first name on the team sheet. I don't think when Arteta came, he saw Saka's position on the right of a free. I did, because I just thought, you know what, this guy, you can play him anywhere. But yeah, and with sort of going back to Pepe a little bit, when Pepe does play, it gives a better balance to the team with him on the left. You don't even think about moving Saka. Keep him there. And that's the thing with sort of the Aubameyang, Lacazette thing. It's got to be one or the other when you play a 4-2-3-1. I don't think you play both of them. But anyway, Saka, like I said, he didn't play fantastically well yesterday. You're going to have games like that. He's young. You're not going to be consistent week in, week out throughout the course of a season. But he's always in the game. And that's why he's the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah, Saka is the best thing to happen to us since Cesc Fabregas. I just think he's absolutely amazing. I love his attitude. I love the fact that He's not on Instagram posting stories, of the typical football things. I love that he's focused on the game. I like the fact that he seems to have a good family unit around him. I think Arteta deserves a lot of credit because I know Emery put Saka in the team, but Arteta's played him left wing back, left mid, centre mid, and now right midfield. And in those early games when he played right midfield, he struggled a little bit with his body shape. When he was receiving the ball, he was easily dispossessed. I think he had a tough game against Brighton. Dan Burn, their left back, made it quite hard for him. But he's really just learnt now how to receive the ball on the right-hand side. And like Albert said, he's just now added goals and assists to his game. And to do that at such a young age is just incredible. I'm so excited to have him in the team along with Martinelli. And I think it's a reason to be really, really excited about because long term, you can have Saka for 7, 8, 9 years and he'll be 28, 29 and you could still sell him for a huge fee. So we've potentially got a great player for a long time. And it was the same with having Vieira and Henry back in the day. We got them so young and we can enjoy them for many years. So we can be really, really happy about that. We have to be careful about overplaying him. I think he started the last 5 games and played 90 minutes, but it just shows you how important he is. So long may it continue.
I agree. I love Saka. Like every single time I see a picture of him, I'm just like, oh, you're so cute. I love you. Stay like this forever. Don't ever grow up. I just love him so much. And I agree. I think it's more than just the way that he plays. It's the way he carries himself. He seems mature and wise for his age. I think he's like perfect. Like I have nothing wrong. I have nothing bad to say about him. And even when he doesn't play well, we still talk about him. And, just even going towards the summer, I think he's putting himself in a really good position to make the England squad for the Euros. I don't think Southgate can pick a team without him. I think he needs him. He needs that flexibility and the relationship that he has with Grealish. Obviously, they have a fun friendship off the field, but on the field, they look so good. And I really hope he makes the team. I think he deserves it. I think he deserves everything that he's getting from the Arsenal fan base. We love him so much, and hopefully we can keep him for many, many years. So now let's go to my man of the match, Dani Ceballos. Dani Ceballos. Man, I think it's like as soon as you start to count Dani out, he has a couple of good games, and you're like, maybe, but then it's like the consistency factor. What did you think about his performance, Albert? Do you think that he played well? I think there's a lot of, some people say that he was bad on the ball. He was on it he touched it too much. And then there's some people like me that thought that he was excellent. What did you think?
I agree with something. He does, for someone who's technically gifted as he is, he holds onto the ball too long. Actually, that's quite a bad trait of a lot of Arsenal midfielders, actually, to be honest with you. Guendouzi was just did the same thing as well. Just too long. Just get rid of it. He did play well yesterday. But just what I will say, when we kind of spoke last time with the rumours about him being available for 22 million, no, I wouldn't take the option.
Wow.
I actually wasn't thinking us bringing him back for another season-long loan personally. But yes, there's times, like I said, I don't get too carried away when some of these guys play well. If you do it for a season, then we can start talking properly. But for now, let's just get through to the end of the season, see what game time Arteta actually gives him and see what he does. And that's what I would say.
Yeah. Harry, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I agree with everything, to be honest. If it's cheap, it's probably worth doing. But if we're talking about going to the next level, I know that he's a completely different player to Xhaka, but is it a massive upgrade in terms of overall quality or difference to the team? I don't think it is. But if he puts on a really consistent run, then maybe so. But yeah, he had a good game last night, in fairness to him, so I don't want to fault him too much. But it's just about consistency, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. And I think it's also about where we are as a club. And if we're outside of European competition and the funds are tight and we can only bring in one center midfielder, I want to see it. I want to see somebody like Basuma. Yeah. I don't think that we're in a position like a Man City to be, bringing in squad players for 20 million. I just don't think we're there. And
I agree.
I think this may be an opportunity for us to, see what somebody like Aziz can do. Maybe he can fill in that squad position. But
Yes,
as I love Danny Ceballos, but I can't see us making it permanent. I'm hearing that we want to, but I mean, does that mean we're not going to get Basuma? Like, I would be so devastated.
and the thing is, just you're not the only one. Trust me, I would have drive to Brighton and bring this guy back today.
Exactly.
But you know what? With Basuma, if it's true, he wants to come to Arsenal. It's down to Arsenal Football Club to make it happen. Because you've got half the battle won. When you know the player wants to come to you, people talking about, oh yeah, but contract. I don't care. Make it happen.
I think he would come. I do.
Yeah, I think he would. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, if we got Ceballos, it just means because Basuma's too much, or there aren't any central midfielders out there that are worth the gamble or worth the investment. Where Ceballos, let's not underestimate how important it is for a manager to know the player that he's signing. He clearly trusts Ceballos. He clearly likes his personality, which is why we saw Torreira and Guendouzi depart, who aren't no worse or better than Ceballos, but we saw Ceballos stay because he understands the tactical philosophy of the manager, which is clearly important. But like you say, if we want to go to that next level, then why not go out and get Basuma? Because we know a player like him next to Partey will just be. It's just two midfield dominators, isn't it? It's a lot more of an aggressive central midfield partnership, which is what we want.
Yeah, and my thing with the Basuma thing is, we see how the midfield physicality and athleticism changes once Partey is out. That is my biggest thing, is that if we can't replicate that in some sort of way, we drop off tremendously. If Partey gets hurt and we have Basuma, you can easily put Basuma next to Xhaka. But if Partey gets hurt and you put Ceballos next to Xhaka, that's completely different. It's not similar in any way, So for me, having somebody like Basuma sitting as the true CDM, just sitting in place, and Thomas Partey as the box to box, I think we would be killer. We would be so good. I have to see it.
Yes, with Basuma quickly. That's the thing. Like, people might think he's a midfield enforcer. He offers probably the same that Thomas Partey does. He's that and a bit more.
Yeah. Yep. I think, this summer is going to be so important to see what direction we're going to go in. But if we're looking to make Ceballos permanent and we don't get in somebody like Basuma, I don't know how I'd feel about it, because Danny has been inconsistent since being here, so I'm not sure.
Is that the one position that you would prioritize, centre midfield?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I think if I had my choice and all I could really do was improve one position, I would improve centre midfield, because that's, to me, our weak point. And we have a bunch of attacking options. I would think striker maybe is the second. And I don't even think we need to improve in the back, to be honest. I don't think it's an emergency to do anything in the back. Do you guys think like we need to improve in the back too? Because I don't really see that as a priority more than the center midfield.
I agree. I think we're solid enough. I think we have enough of the ball. It's what we do with the ball. I think that's why I'd probably say securing someone like Ødegaard or that profile of midfielder for me would be priority, a creative midfielder. I think Arteta long-term probably wants to play more of a 3 in midfield rather than a pivot. I think he wants probably 2 defensive, more minded midfielders and a slightly more creative midfielder, but who can also play deep. So I would prefer for us to try to secure an Ødegaard, if he comes good. But let's see. Potentially, we could strengthen right back. We could strengthen centre mid, centre forward, and maybe left mid as well. There's quite a lot of things that we need, but I don't think we're going to get them.
Yeah. What about you, Albert? What is your looking towards the summer? Just really quick, like, what is your priority in terms of improving Arsenal? What do you think?
Yeah. So I saw someone saying in the chat, like with Basuma, I just want to, like, we're not saying he's like Partey. We're saying that they're more than just CDMs. Like I think. This is the thing. This is the thing with I think sometimes with some of the fan base, like, don't just watch Arsenal, man. Watch football outside of watching Arsenal in the Premier League. There's players there, man. There's quality players there, like within the league. They have to be English, but there's players that will come to Arsenal do a better job. But yeah, to your question, Jess, you've seen my content. Harry might have seen it. I've been banging on about the right back position for years at Arsenal. Years. Get me Max Aarons or Lamptey tomorrow. If you can't get them to, surely he must be able to find somebody in the country or in Europe to play right back for Arsenal. Because for me, with the Bellerin thing, don't want to say too much, but people know my thoughts about him. I don't think he's good enough defensively and offensively, or at least be very good at one of the aspects. But I just don't think he's consistent either. But yeah, right back for me. What concerns me with Arsenal is I don't know where we're going as a football club in terms of our centre backs. I ruled off the ones out at the club already. I mean, the 3 youngsters are out on loan: Medley, McGuinness, Ballard. We bought Rekic. Chambers is still there. Mari's been bought.
What's going on with William Saliba?
Obviously, yeah.
If I had one question to ask Mikel Arteta, that's probably what I would ask him. What are you doing? What's happening?
I don't think Arteta likes him. I don't think he likes his personality. That's it. I just don't think he thinks he's a good person in and around the dressing room. He might be wrong. He might be right, but I think otherwise he'd be in and about the squad, or he would have went on loan sooner. And I think the way Saliba's acting in the media is probably a sign that that's a relationship that is not a good one. Otherwise, he'd be doing all he could to speak well of Arteta and say, I didn't get my chance, but I'm going to work so hard here and I'm going to prove that I can do it, rather than just saying, I only played 2 games and X, Y, Z.
He's yet to say that too. He's yet to say that, like, he's just working hard to get back to Arsenal. And he even made a point to say that when the coach changed, a lot of things for him changed. That was not a good look.
Yeah. That's why, honestly, I really don't care about Saliba. And if he comes back next year and he's amazing, awesome. But in terms of me thinking, where is Saliba and why isn't he playing? Arteta's shown almost every day it's attitude over ability. Guendouzi and Torreira are 10 times better than Elneny. But Elneny has the attitude and the yes, sir, I'll do it, boss. And those guys potentially don't. Maybe with Torreira, it's a little bit different. So it's all about that for Arteta. And when you're trying to build a philosophy, it's probably more important to install that, knowing that it might affect results, because long term, when players come in, they'll know how the ship is being run. So for Saliba, I mean, I don't care too much. And I'm a fan of Rob Holding. I think David Luiz is all right. I think Gabriel can grow. Once again, we're not conceding a lot of goals. If you add 10 goals onto Aubameyang this season, we're in a total different position. Totally different league position. If you had more goals on Pepe game, a few more goals for Lacazette, we're in a different position, but we don't, but we haven't. So that's why we are where we are. Yeah.
The centre back position, like I said, it does concern me a bit where we're going with that in terms of this, because even though we've got rid of Mustafi finally, right, and Socrates is gone, we still got like 10 million centre backs at the club. So I don't know what the planning is really, and there's not many of them I would keep, Harry and Jess, to be honest with you. If I'm being brutally honest, not a lot of them I would keep at all, even in the squad. But
so who would you get rid of? Who would you get rid of out of all of them, just out of interest?
How long you got on the podcast, man? I mean, I'm not with the Rob Holding situation, for example. I'm not sort of jumping on the bandwagon and thinking this guy's the next Cannavaro Baresi. We were going to send this guy out on loan at the start of the season, so he quite clearly was. He can't have been we forgot Mavropanos.
Yeah.
Mari, I'm happy with from what I've seen, but I think he was bought as a backup centre back, and then you've got Gabriel. No, I wouldn't keep David. I wouldn't give David Luiz a contract, mate. Sorry, I wouldn't.
Yeah, the center back situation, I think, will get sorted this summer, because we'll see whether or not they're going to give David Luiz another contract. I think if they do, then that means that Saliba will stay out on loan. I don't see Mavropanos coming back. So I think it's going to be those 4, Marie, Gabriel, Holding, and David Luiz, and maybe one other. But we're not going to have the money, I don't think, to buy another right-sided center back. And like I said, I think they need to figure out the center midfield situation. I'm hoping that we get lucky and we're able to keep Odegaard even for maybe like a 12-month loan, so we don't have to spend the money there, and we can bring in a Basuma and then streamline the striker situation by selling Lacazette and Eddie, so we don't have just all these extras hanging out that we don't really need. Maitland-Niles, Willock, Willock. Don't know what's going on with Nelson. Not concerned about Nelson at this point, to be honest. Yeah, they got a lot of work to do. But now, just really quick, you guys, looking forward to the Man City game. Harry, would you go with a strong lineup? How would you line up against Man City? Just kind of rotate? What would you do now that we know that we're going to have to, solidify things against Benfica next week? So it's not like, we have to look forward to that game because we have to make it to the next round. So what would you do?
I'd obviously bring in Kieran Tierney. I'd take out Louise for holding, just to take Louise out of the fire line, because if we do concede a few goals against Man City, Louise will just get abused quite a lot because of what happened last time. And then I would play a front three of Pepe, Aubameyang, and Saka, and then the midfield three would be Xhaka, Ceballos, and Odegaard. I know we have a big game against Benfica, but I think if we put in a bad performance against City or lose in a really humbling way, I think that will just bleed in to the Benfica game, and I think it would just leave us in a really vulnerable place. I don't think we have this luxury to prioritize games too much. I really don't, because we've shown that we're just too vulnerable.
I kind of agree with that too. Like, I always consider the mental state of this team because I know it's not great. So I would like to see us at least put in a performance that we could be proud of against Man City and not just get freaking battered, because it does carry over. And we don't have the luxury, like you said, Harry, to keep rotating, and we have to play our strongest squad. And I would like to see us maybe, for the next 3 games, play our strongest lineups against Man City, Benfica for the second leg, and Leicester. I know that people are like, well, we're not going to win those games. We could beat Leicester. We should have beat them the first time, but we just played straight into their hands. So, and we're different now, so I don't think we can just put out El Neni and whoever else, Willian, and the junk players. We don't need to be doing that, so I didn't mean to call them junk players.
No, I agree. It's too risky, because the chances of beating Man City are so slim, right? That they dominate every team they play. So when you have the ball, you have to use it wisely, and you have to be progressive as you can. And a midfield pairing of El Neni and Xhaka isn't particularly progressive. So we can't rotate. And do they deserve to play? Has Willian done anything? No. Has El Neni done anything since Old Trafford? No. So we've got to be cutthroat.
Yeah. Albert, how are you lining up against Man City?
One, Mikel Arteta. Listen, Arsenal, we have a hard enough time supporting the team. Trying to second guess Arteta picking the team is a headache in itself. Because the guy was throwing a curveball, man. But what I would say, just in terms of lineup, I would expect to see Pepe start. I'd expect to see Lacazette start, possibly Martinelli, and then maybe Rob Holding to come in. Because I'd find it a bit odd if those 4 players don't start on Sunday. Like, what's the point of squad rotation if they don't come in and play? Now, the problem we've got against Man City is, one, our record's not very good against them in the league, home and away. Not just away, or home as well. And with City, I've heard the stat, apparently we've ended Guardiola's run. Was it when he's at Bayern Munich? Was it
Bayern Munich? Yeah.
Yeah, that we've ended their run. But with City, it's different this time, because defensively they're good. It's not just going through defensively; they're excellent with Stones and Diaz at the back. Well, they conceded 1 goal as a partnership in about 12, 13 games. It's insane.
Yeah, it's madness.
We've got both aspects to contend with City, defensively and attacking wise. So I'm not too confident going into that game for obvious reasons. But like Jimmy Greaves said, man, football's a funny old game.
Oh, yeah. I don't feel confident. I'm not thinking, we're going to get a win. I just want to see a performance. I don't want to see that usual lay down and, just let them just do whatever. Like, I want to see us actually play our game against City. We're good on the counterattack. I do think that they'll have the majority of the ball, but maybe we'll be able to do something on the other end. I'm not sure, but, I would like to see Pepe come back into this team against Man City. I would like to see Aubameyang start through the middle and Saka on the right, Odegaard in behind. The same midfield two of Ceballos and Xhaka. And then the back line, Bellerin, Holding, Gabriel, and and Tierney. That's what I would like to see, and just freaking play, just actually try to win. Just show us something, just show us something.
Yeah, play with personality, man. Play with the style.
Show something.
Don't be scared. We've got a lot of good technical players in our team. So if we actually try to take the game to them, we might be okay. Of course, sit back and be tight, but don't be negative on the ball. Don't be scared or nervous, and try to show that, hey, we're slowly coming back to playing some good football with the style. So fingers crossed. Saying that, it'll probably be about 6-0 to City.
Yeah.
Guys, I have to say, you see, I'll tell you what I love from City. It's not the most obvious choice, but Xhaka and Ceballos, man.
Yeah,
that's how I want my right back to play. That guy, man.
I think that's how Arteta is trying to get Bellerin to play, is that tucked in center midfielder, that underlapping midfielder. It's from the Pep's playbook. That's exactly what it is. But João Cancelo is levels above Hector Bellerin, unfortunately. But yeah, since coming back into their team, he deputized on the left-hand side really well too, which is hard to do. I don't know what it is about Portugal having these fullbacks that can play midfield too, because if you ever watched Guerrero from Dortmund, this is how they produce players. It's crazy. Yeah. So you guys, we're going to get into the questions section. We have about 15 minutes to throw some questions around. So again, make it obvious that it's a question, and we'll go ahead and run through these. This is kind of, I don't even know about this. Mm-hmm. Yo, can Willian be coached to play as a fullback the way Ashley Young, Jesus Navas, and Antonio Valencia Laurent were? No. No, I don't know. Does anybody want to take a swipe at this one?
I like this question because when we first signed Willian, I spoke to someone and I was really positive about it. I thought it was a really good signing. And I also said, don't be surprised if we play wing backs to see him play right wing back, because I just thought he's got a good work rate and a good engine about him. I mean, look, he could play right back. I'm sure he could. It's not a far-fetched. But in the same token, at the minute, he can't play right midfield or left midfield. So to retrain him to play right back, I don't know if it's realistic. But he's a tidy footballer, isn't he, Willian? He's just been absolutely awful since he's come here.
What is wrong with him? I cannot put my finger on it.
No, I don't know. It's so confusing, though, because he was so good at Chelsea last year. He had a really good season. I remember watching him against
that contract.
I remember watching him against Man City, and he was class.
It's weird because if you speak to some Chelsea fans, right? Their relationship with him is very 50-50.
Yeah,
very 50-50.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think if they had a bad game, he would always be one of their worst players for sure, because he's quite a shy figure, isn't he? He looks quite reserved, so that kind of impacts his game. But I mean, listen, if things don't take a drastic curve, then you have to sell him in the summer. You have to sell him. You have to.
I don't know why this is so funny to me, because it's like we have to sell him. It's we have to, right?
You know why? Because Arteta keeps on bringing him on, so he's trying to change like the story. It's like Arteta, the story for the past 20 games has been bad. It's not suddenly going to become good. Like you've got to try to end the story. Make it easy on yourself, because people are starting to question your approach when you keep on persisting with Willian all the time. I'm not here saying, start Nelson, he deserves a chance, but if you keep on persisting with Willian, then start Nelson.
Ugh. Yikes. All right, here's a question from my favorite Lone Star Londoner. I hope you're okay in Texas. I know you guys are going through it with the power outage, and I hope you're doing well. And he says, when we lose in Europa and finish 10th this season, what will our summer look like? Can't see clubs spending massive transfer fees, and clubs that don't want to sell will inflate prices. Know you're up to. Albert, you want to give this one a good old try? This one?
Yeah, I mean, people have kind of posed it before with they said if Arsenal don't win the Europa League, which we haven't won the European trophies since '94, and yes, I'm old enough to remember that, and we finish outside the top 6. I mean, I don't know. I can't see how the Arsenal Football Club can tell us that, we're going to give Arteta the summer to spend the money. Like, to me, it just, the maths wouldn't make any sense. So I said to you, if people ask me, will we win the Europa League? I said, I'm not confident we would. I think we get to the quarterfinals because I think there's some decent teams in there. But because it's a cup competition, you've got a puncher's chance. But I personally think that's all we've got. So that's the answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I've touched on this several times because to me, this is the most interesting part of our season is seeing this is something that we've never really seen before. And we've been told for so long that we need European competition. So what does that look like if we don't have it in terms of transfers and things like that? I don't think that that's an excuse for not recruiting well because teams outside of Europe have always they've been able to recruit. So that's not an excuse. And I also think that that might be a good opportunity for us to recruit better players because we won't be attracted to players that just want to come for the pay, you know, because they won't want to come if we don't have Europa League at least. You know, I think what this summer looks like if we are in that situation is Edu having to do a lot of freaking work. You know, you're not going to be able to just rely on, you know, oh, we have European competition, we can give you a big paycheck. We're going to actually have to go out there and recruit. And up to this point, you know, I know we're using a data-led approach and we're not really doing on the ground recruiting anymore and stuff like that. But this is where Edu is going to have to make his money. Is this summer when when we don't win Europa League, we didn't qualify and we're in a true rebuild. You know, I don't know what this looks like because I've never seen it before from Arsenal. You know,
do you think players are obviously the financial implications are important because it might affect what they earn? Do you think players are interested, or the players that we need to take us to the next level? Do you think they care about playing Europa League football? Europa League, not Champions League, Europa League.
I don't think, you know, I think the players that we've been recruiting up to this point do, but I think players that understand that they're in a project and they believe in it and they want to play under somebody like Arteta, maybe players that maybe don't see themselves at Arsenal forever, but will view us as a stepping stone, won't think poorly on it. I mean, look at Aston Villa. They don't have freaking Europe and they got Ollie Watkins. He's a great signing for them. You know,
I just feel like if I was a pro footballer, I couldn't think of anything worse than traveling to Bulgaria on a Thursday to play, knowing I have to play Sunday morning. You know, I don't know if that will impact signings in terms of the financial impacts, of course, but I feel like we can still attract big players because of our name.
I do too.
And by name only, yeah. I'll get what you mean.
Yeah. But Arteta seems to be able to Arteta still seems to be able to convince players to come, you know, regardless of where we are.
Yeah.
You know, so if they can convince people of the project and they can see young players like Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe coming in, we can keep Odegaard. We have some big name players still in Aubameyang and Partey. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but I do think getting players out, you know, selling players and then recruiting well is what we're going to have to do. And that falls on Edu. You know, he has to get it right, you know.
Yeah. And on top of that, he's very new to the role. He's not even experienced at Edu. So, boy, he's got his work cut out, man.
He really does. He really does. All right, let's see. Let's do one more question and then head on out. Let's see. This is a good one. Question for the whole panel. Who's the worst player you've ever seen play in an Arsenal shirt and why? That's kind of funny.
There's a few candidates, man. Oh, mate. Yeah, Harry, you have to go first, man. That's baffled me, that one, man.
All right. Well, I'll start with the best. The best is Granit Xhaka, probably.
And to get yourself lynched.
And no, the worst. Oh, this is really hard.
It is hard question.
I remember being really excited about Inamoto. I don't know if everyone remembers him when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Junichi Inamoto. He was quite disappointing. Jeffers was disappointing. Yeah, I'd probably say. Do you know what? I'd probably say Jeffers because at the time, I think Michael Owen was on the rise, and we found our fox in the box, and he wasn't a fox, and he was never in the box. So yeah, that was a bad one.
There's so many I could think of. What's the guy? The centre back we played, Igor Stepanos.
Yeah, loads have just come into my mind as well. Do you remember Squillaci? Squillaci was bad.
Oh God,
So
man.
Silvestre was so bad. Oh,
he was tragic.
That was so painful.
I may have to say, you know what, for me, honestly, this person always stands out to me because I just thought, what on earth were we thinking? And that's Andre Santos.
Yeah.
This guy, he was living high. He was high on the hog in London, eating all that great food, you know, just partying his butt off, but he couldn't play. Like, you could tell he liked the lifestyle, but he wasn't there really to play. He was horrible.
That was that last minute supermarket sweep, wasn't it, when Wenger signed everyone? Yeah,
I thought that was one of our worst transfer windows. I'm sorry, and Arteta was a part of that one too.
Santos came with a belly, right, and he left with a belly. Like he came a little bit overweight, and he left overweight. Yeah, he was bad.
When he swapped shirts with Van Persie at half time, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
He scored against Chelsea, right? In that win, did he score against Chelsea when we won at Stamford Bridge? I think he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that before. He was just he was devastatingly bad, and you could just see like he wasn't there for the right reasons. You know, I don't know. I never understood. He stands out to me. Maybe even like Yaya Sanogo. He's another one that I was like, you're not good. You're not good.
That should make us appreciate players like Bellerin and Granit Xhaka even more, right? Because Bellerin could easily be an Andre Santos, but he's not.
No.
All right.
You know what I thought about the other day, like just randomly, is I wondered if maybe Bellerin, like if he ever watches old videos of himself, if he cries seeing how fast he is or he was. That you don't get that type of speed. Like he's the fastest person I think I've ever seen. Have you seen a player faster than Hector Bellerin in his prime?
Maybe Theo, but that was it, right? Walcott was pretty quick, but Bellerin was fast.
I would cry every night if I couldn't have that burst of speed back, because I looked at a video of him the other day and I was like, wow, he was quick. He was very quick.
Was it against Bayern Munich, that goal we scored when Ozil scored? Was it that clip?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was that clip. It was.
Yeah, he was rapid there.
He was so fast. You know, I think Hector Bellerin with the tight Puma jersey and the pink boots and the ponytail is like the best Hector Bellerin that I ever saw. You know, I miss that Hector Bellerin. I do. I miss him.
Oh, the good times.
Good times. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the show today. I think it was very good. We covered everything under the sun, and my panel was amazing. Thank you guys for being here. Albert, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yes, always a pleasure. People smash the likes, kick it, poke it, hit the likes, man. Come on. But yes, always a pleasure, man, to cover your channel, collaborate with you. Yes, come find me, AlbertJTV, very easy to find. And my Twitter handle is AUMO57. Come and subscribe, people.
All righty. Harry, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter at It's DJ Harry and Instagram, of course. I just post moaning things about Arsenal and also Granit Xhaka and Hector Bellerin support schemes, which you can always subscribe to. And thanks for having me on. It's been great. Talking Arsenal has certainly helped me get through lockdown. So thank you so much, Jess.
Yes. I loved having you guys on. Obviously, I will have you guys back. And if you guys loved having or watching Albert and Harry on the show, let me know in the comment section. And all of their information is also in the description box. So if you want to know where to follow them and all that good stuff, you can find that there. And you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessinho. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.